you're not going to get anything for it but a few jobs. Because that's basically what it amounts to. They'll get entertainment. The developer will get, whatever he gets. The tourists will get whatever they get. The citizen on top of that bluff will get inconvenience in the way that he's being inconvenienced every day for the last 2 or 3 years, like it's supposed to. Those are the citizens that live right down here in this footprint. The ones they don't want in the park, the ones they don't want to put a bathroom in the park for, the ones they don't want drinking in the park, the ones that just live 2 or 3 blocks from that marketplace. The ones who they're telling, Country Fair is a great grocery store for you. And I'm not suggesting that a grocery store go down there either. I always thought that would be a horrible idea to put one down there, even though they miss the food deserts. But I'm going to probably reach out to you because I have a lot more questions
I'd love to sit and talk with you.
Yeah, after tonight. I mean, I'm fair.
Yeah.
We've enjoyed a great relationship.
Absolutely.
But I do have an obligation to the people who come here and verbally oppose it as well.
Yep, I understand.
We're sure we can bridge some of that gap. No one wants to stop any development, but we want the people to get something. And right now, it don't look like they're getting much of anything.
I think for myself, I can't articulate much clearer than my colleague, Councilor Andre Horton did. I think I'm just disappointed. I'm just disappointed for our residents and our community members who are really just being locked out. This is going to benefit. There is a subgroup that this will benefit, and the disappointment doesn't fall. This doesn't fall in the convention center. The disappointment really does fall on the systems we've created to kind of get to this point where there hasn't been more community involvement in it. We have certain jurisdiction that we're allowed to act within, and it's a very spelled out ordinance. So even though I'm just frustrated with what I can see happening right here to our city residents, and essentially this really is trickle down economics is what's kind of being pitched here, and I'm just sad. I'm sad for our residents, and I'm sad that we're at this point. I deeply believe in many of the other projects that have been proposed, and I locked arms with you on the last one. But this one I think is just a letdown for those who call Erie home and not those who are passing through. I see the vision, but I don't think it included. I don't think it included our community, and it's the same thing that up and down the Bayfront. And it just makes me sad that we're at a point where a lot of this is going to be very difficult for us to protect residents from because of where we are with the ordinance and just the process as it stands. And know that my disappointment doesn't fall just on this project. It falls to where we are. But I needed to say that out loud, so it's on record. And we really got to do better by our residents. Our residents are in so much pain, and this doesn't help any of them. It doesn't. Is there any other questions from council or from administration on this point? No.
Mr. Pine, I would just suggest when we had the public hearing for the Harbor Place project, if you had wanted to submit something, because there's no decisions going to be made tonight, in the next couple of weeks, if you want to submit something to council to help maybe answer some of their questions and maybe address some of the issues you've heard tonight.
To be able to address that on the 30th, is that what you're saying?
You can, well, that's a public comment night. I'm just saying that you could do it for the same thing as on the Scott's Hotel.
What I suspect, I haven't convened with council on this, but what I suspect is that we'll probably do another special meeting very similar to the setup so that we're able to do it in the evening and the public can be present, because if we were to put it on the next agenda, it's during that time period where just a lot of people can't attend, and so we'll look to do something very similar like we're doing with the next one.
All right, if you want to provide me some specific questions you want addressed for the future, I'd be more than happy to take a shot at that.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Did that.
All right.
Then I think we're good to.
I think on that note, then, we would close out the public hearing. Thank everyone for speaking on their behalf, and then the court reporter's job is done, and then move back into public comment.
All right. So just to remind everybody with the public comment, it really is, you can talk whatever you want to in the public comment side. But if you could line up on the left side as we're doing this, is it?
Well,
Oh, no,
it's,
sorry.
it's your right,
It's your
our
right,
left.
Our left, sorry. Yes, you guys are going the correct way. And then just be mindful, please, of the 5 minutes. We'll have the timer going. Please state your name and your municipality. And just remember that just be mindful of the time, because we do want to give everybody the same opportunity to speak tonight. So thank you.
Hello, I'm Emerson Bannon, City of Erie. I'm here today with Erie County United and the Erie Research Team. I've been researching affordability and local policy for over a year now, looking at solutions to the affordability crisis that we faced. We are probably one of the most low-income cities in the country, and we have seen fairly staggering increases in costs of groceries, rent over the years, as well as our access is increasingly limited due to factors even outside the city's control. We need something better than what we are getting. Currently, the only mechanisms that the city has for housing are really through either the Housing Authority, which is very kind of restricted in how they can operate, or the for-profit model. But as long as it's more profitable to build hotels, that's all we're going to get. And instead of getting new housing, we're getting demolition after demolition after demolition as our neighborhoods get hollowed out. We need something better. So we need something that operates outside of a traditional profit-based model, because that is the way we are going to get new housing, affordable housing that is desperately needed in the city in a way that people can afford. I'm talking about a public developer model. This has been something, after hearing concerns of residents, of myself, being a renter myself, a lot of the investment that we are seeing, these things like the downtown developments or the Bayfront project, tens of millions of dollars, and I even live on State Street in Academy, and I don't see any of that stuff in my neighborhood. I don't see any of that stuff in the east side. Where is our investment going to be? A public developer is a proven mechanism that would get developments for people of housing, of mixed-use spaces in the places where people need to, because it's under public control and not just control of a large out-of-town corporation or anything like that. It is a proven model that has been done in a number of cities like Chattanooga, Atlanta, Montgomery County, Maryland, and looking at social housing, even Meadville has gone further than us, and they were even able to set things up in a way that they had their entities pay taxes so that it can still contribute to the city's tax base while providing affordable housing for people. This is something we need, not just in terms of the front of housing, but in terms of groceries, in terms of healthcare. I'm about to go to the doctor tomorrow. I put off a procedure for years because I did not have insurance. Even being a downtown office worker myself, I still make less than $50,000 a year. I have to keep putting off this kind of care. So how do you think the rest of the city residents are doing? We need a public option, we need affordability, and we need a public developer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Henry Chiappa. I live in the city of Erie. So I'm concerned with the cost of living. I can't imagine, a lot of people I know work overtime, make above the median here in the city of Erie, but are still struggling to meet basic needs. Rent, utilities, the tens of thousands of insurances that everybody needs these days. Food and, paying the water bill even, which is Erie Waterworks, a public utility. So, I want to see more pressure from this council and other governing bodies on the state level to see that if we're doing revitalization of the city of Erie, if property values go up, are the current property owners going to be able to afford the tax increase that goes on if their property value goes up. So it's a snake eating itself almost, where even if we do attempt any sort of revitalization towards the lower income communities, the system is set up in a way that you even get a little bit of a leg up, you're being pushed right back down. And it's ridiculous, and it especially affects minority communities here in the city of Erie that are already disadvantaged, and now a small leg up is actually a push down. And it's hard to see, and we kind of been talking about, we had the Scott Enterprise Hotel, we have this development that's going on the Bayfront, and all I'm hearing is, this is a big playground for the rich. This is a big, this isn't going to the people of the Lower East Side or going to the people that are, here in the city. It's only going to benefit those that are already wealthy or tourists that are just going to see, come in, be like, hey, we're going to have a good time. We're going to get right on out of here because we don't really care about this city. And, I've even heard, we were talking about like jobs that are coming in with these developments and stuff like that. And I remember, during the Scott's hearing, they talked about, we're going to at least be paying $15 an hour. We were asking for $15 an hour 10 years ago. And, it's much worse today. And it's ridiculous that, we're pleading for the bare minimum. We're pleading for just the opportunity to be able to live in the city that we call home. And it just seems like this council and other governing bodies just do not want to prioritize the needs of working class people. And, even with the bike lane presentation, we're not even protecting the bikers. There's no barrier in between the bikers and the street. So, if somebody gets a little bit lazy when they're driving on the road, bye-bye bikers, see you later. It's honestly, I'm joking about it, but it's frankly disgusting because these are lives at stake. These are people's livelihoods that are being risked that are all going for capital interests. Even with Erie Events being a public authority, the businesses that are going down there, they're going to be profiting from being down there, they're not going to share that wealth with their employees. But they got that $15 an hour though. It's honestly pretty sad. So I really hope that going forward that this council prioritizes the needs of working class people, addressing costs of utilities, rent, and collaborating with their state partners or Commonwealth partners, saying, hey, we need to fix the system Commonwealth-wide because frankly, it ain't working here or it ain't working elsewhere. So I hope that there's pressure from the council members here and from the mayor to really, really take a crack at this collaboratively. Because right now we're just kind of throwing our hands up in the air and saying, well, if we just let private developers come in, they'll fix everything, and they really don't. They don't care about you guys, they don't care about me, they don't care about the people in the audience. And so just to sum things up, please continue to attack the issue that is affordability here in this city. And I see a few what I would call progressives on the diocese over here, and ask yourselves, am I doing enough? And I do have faith in these council people, but a lot of these things are being done behind closed doors, and we're not seeing it in the public, and we just see a plan that comes up. This is, we might get some tenants down there. That might be nice, So enough with the planning, and let's get straight to the action. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Eric. I'm from Mill Creek. I am also coming here to speak about affordability and a lot of the developments that I'm seeing in Erie that are meant to deal with some of these issues. I know Mill Creek has their own mixed use stuff that they're planning with Infinite Erie. And honestly, I want to know what who these plans are for. Like, I'm on disability, I'm on a fixed income. And I honestly wonder if 10 years, if I'm going to be even able to live anywhere remotely near the city. Because what a lot of people are saying is, oh, we're going to have $800 rents. I can't afford that. Most people can't. Seems like most of these all these programs go to serve a select class that can afford it, but like the rest of us are left out. I mean, I know Vegas, they get discounts for hotels, 20% discount for residents to have access to these amenities as well. Like, where's the benefit for the lowest in the population of Erie? And that's all I have to really say. I know we've already talked about this a bunch, and I'll just keep it short. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jim Deutschlander. I currently live in Erie City. I am also here to talk about the affordability. As someone who just recently lost their job, as someone who has disabilities, it is a struggle. It is a struggle. And to make things worse, I feel like we have landlords who want to take advantage of us. You know, I am leaving an apartment because I lost my job. I am moving back home. But one of the reasons why I wanted to leave that apartment is because I feel like there was a lack of transparency between the landlord and myself. I feel like I speak on behalf of a lot of people who feel like landlords are out for themselves and they want to keep as little from us as possible. One of the issues I've had a rodent issue. And my lease told me I had 60 days to be able to identify any issues, including vermin or insects. And if there were no issues after that 60 days, it was on me to take care of it. Now, this was in this was probably in May, so I didn't notice anything. I have lived in multiple establishments, never had a vermin or pest issue. And then come November, December, they all start swarming in. And I'm finding droppings in my dresser drawers. I'm finding clothing that are beginning to have holes in them. And when I discussed it, they said, well, since that wasn't something that you mentioned during your first 60 days, you have to pay for extermination. And also, this is an old building, so that's going to happen. Well, that's not okay. If it's an older building, if it's a foundation issue, then get it fixed. And I also bring that kind of also ties into the whole issue of where is my money going? My lease has, the 2 years I've been there, it's gone up a total of $100, my rent. And they want to claim, oh, well, that's for maintenance costs. Where is that money going? There are three windows that encompass the building that I live in. All three are boarded up. One had been boarded up since I had moved in, before I'd moved in. The other two got knocked out at some point and just got boarded up. That's not okay. If you're going to increase our rent and claim, maintenance costs, we want to know, where is that money going? Is it okay to be able to say, hey, how about some transparency here? Can I get a breakdown of where that money that you're wanting to, take from us, where is that money going? Is that truly going to maintenance, or is that being just kind of pushed aside as extra income for you? We don't know, I feel like it's not right. And then on top of that, I feel like the other issue that I have as far as transparency is concerned, what about building inspections? I actually had the privilege of attending the study, I believe it was last week, on the topic of tenants and the landlords. And I truly feel that we should have the ability to know what is being inspected. When I had my last inspection, they said, oh, we'll be in and out in 5 minutes. What can you inspect in 5 minutes? Checking lights, oh, sure, they work. Checking to see if the fire alarms work, okay. But what about everything else? I'm not an electrician, I'm not an expert, but I want to know, is my building passable? Or is it something that's getting run down, that's just, I realize that I just worry that a lot of landlords are saying, you know what, they're just looking for a place to live. They don't know any better. So why not just go ahead and say, and just keep them as little informed as possible? Because I feel like I don't even know what my rights as a tenant are. I feel like that is something that all tenants should know. And I feel like I shouldn't have to go to my landlord and say, what are my rights as a tenant? I feel like that needs to be first and foremost. Not something that we have to come to you for. If you want to have, if a landlord wants to have a good relationship with their tenants, then how about a little bit of transparency? A little bit of transparency will go a heck of a long way.
So I apologize, I'm going to have to cut you because that 5 minutes is up, but thank you so much.
Understandable. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Danielle Deutschlander. I am currently living in the city of Erie. I just kind of wanted to give you a little personal story of what my experience has been like with housing and affordability. In 2020, I was finally able to afford an apartment. I was excited. Like, finally, I can move out of my house with my brothers and my parents and have my own place. So, literally a month later, COVID comes knocking, of course. But I was able to rent there for 4 years before it got too expensive. So I was very lucky. I had a friend who had just recently got a house who only could afford it because her dad had recently passed away, which is not the way you want to be like, yay, I got a house because my dad's dead, woohoo. So I was able to move in with her. I've been living there for two and a half years now, but things have changed. I'm gonna have to move out. She's got someone moving in with her. It's just not enough space. And I'm once again very, very lucky that I have friends and family that can take me in while I've decided to. At first I was looking for an apartment. Everything is $750, $800, and that's without utilities. I can't afford that. Even though I've been working full-time at my job for 13 years now, part-time before that, above minimum wage, I can't afford that. So I'm trying to look into buying a home, but yet again, I don't have a ton of money. I'm able to get a decent loan, but to find a house that I can afford is so hard. It's either above my price point or it's got so many issues that I can't afford to fix it and live there. And so I don't know when I'm going to be able to move out on my own again. And I know that there are other people that are way less fortunate than me that don't have a steady job, that don't have friends and family who can take them in. Homelessness is on the rise. Evictions are on the rise. Foreclosures on homes are on the rise. We can't afford to live anymore in the city. And like with the hotel and this marketplace idea, yeah, we're gonna hire people to work there, but if people can't afford to live here, who's gonna work there? It's not working. And I hope you guys can find a way to make this city affordable again for the people who have lived here and the people who want to stay here. Because it's a great city. It has so much potential, but it's been neglected for way too long. And I hope you guys, and I have faith with the things that you've been saying tonight, that there's a way we can do that. So thank you for listening to me, and I hope that we can fix this affordability crisis. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, I have Donald Wade, just so you know. I have a lot of issues, and I don't think I have enough in 5 minutes, but I am on disability. I am autistic. I have what is called Asperger's. I'm a very smart individual. I excel in certain things that I'm interested in, and not so much like human communication or body language. Sorry, I come short. Maybe I should kneel to my superiors. But that's how the world is for people with disabilities. We don't get a fair share. I have an apartment that is $800 a month. My disability check is only $1,000. I can't afford to live here. I'm looking for another place to live. You guys don't allow campments. This is going to be Los Angeles real soon here, with people sleeping on the street in tents. Can't live in a camper, city ordinance. Got to have a place to live. Can't live in a garage, might catch on fire. We got no reprieve. We have no hope. You get in trouble with the law because you're homeless. You're different than them. They discriminate against you and call you disorderly conduct. And they want to charge you a fee. That's not behavioral. My behavior is actionable to their police intimidation, their corrupt ways, and out of the two of us, it is totally unfair. I'm not brandishing a weapon. I don't have a taser. I'm unarmed. And when I'm talking to one officer and another officer creeps up behind and you look behind, that's an arrestable offense. Now you're interfering with judgmental duties or whatever. I'm done with all this. I am tired of being in handcuffs because of a misunderstanding. Okay? Even being sexually assaulted at the courthouse by a sheriff's officer, Mr. Lawrence, rubbing against me, pushing me. When I say no and to stop, I don't care if you have a badge or not. No means no. I believe that's tantamount to rape. Congratulations. They investigated themselves as usual, just like the police department, and found no wrongdoing. And give him a higher tier job. This all needs to stop. I do not feel safe in my community. And the shameful thing is, I'm more fearful of the police department than I am the common criminal that walks the streets. I might have at least a 50-50 chance with them. I might use my phone, a cop yells gun, and I'm wasted. Mag dumped. People like me get killed often, just for a misunderstanding. It needs to stop. I'm begging for peace. I'm begging for harmony. I'm begging for a safe place to live, where we're not all corralled in some kind of concentration camp, or having to sleep on a dirty street because we can't afford the most meager of things. You're talking about convention centers and going to see Disney on Ice. Where does that money come from? Not out of my rent money, and especially out of my landlord that gets rent money religiously every month, not short. And he won't even fix nothing in my apartment. And I'll give you a name, Bill Weber. He signed a contract with Erie County Care Management, and he's not following through. Instead of fixing my apartment, he said, Mr. Way can move out. Like there is plenty of other opportunities out there for a roof over my head, when everybody here knows there is none. That's all I gotta say. We need to afford to live. We are your poorest of your community. We are on disability. I have a lot of skills. Nobody's asked me what I can do for this city, but I do not want to be criminalized because I have a disability. I do not want, well, you didn't look me in the eyes, so as a detective, I'm going to consider you being dishonest, and I'm just going to go with the rape charges when I never did no such crime. You understand what I'm saying? And I didn't realize until after my 4.5-month illegal incarceration at the Erie jail, Erie prison, for a crime I never committed. Don't expect the state to say, oops, we made a mistake, we're sorry. They never do.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lorraine Baltus. I have lived here my whole entire life. My grandparents grew up in this city. From the east side to the west side, we started Erie, basically. Last Saturday, right before Easter, I was attacked by 3 immature, violent little teenagers filming. I don't know if they were complete adults. It's on camera. There better be a case because I'm coming after those juveniles. It was the day before Easter. I was verbally attacked, punched in the back, thrown some liquid shit on me. I ran this way and almost wanted to punch the kid in his face as they were filming me. 3 kids, 3 young punks attacked me. Where your cameras are supposed to be out there protecting the citizens. That's why you put them there, right? Waiting for the detective to get back. Well, he better get back fast because I get an attorney. And I'm really tired of you people telling me I'm a millionaire and running the scam. I know what I'm worth. And I don't need to be told every fucking day and be slandered as I'm walking down the street. I step out of my house, I have cars driving by slandering it. And your news don't make it better for me. When your radio station did it to me, now I get an attorney and I sue your city if you don't stop the harassment. But please look into it because I'm getting an attorney. What makes these kids the right to gang up on the older generations and attack us as we're walking and filming us? If I did that, my dad would have whooped my ass, dragged me to the parents' house, and took me to juvie. The day before Easter. Then the next day, I went down to visit my brother, dropped off food to the homeless guy that lives on the corner, right where the old unemployment lives. Nice kid, nice guy. Some of these homeless people don't bother nobody. The cost of living is going up. I know, because I saw what the last landlord did. I'm lucky where I live, but I'm making it. Barely. I get by. Your Section 8 that year kicked me off. When I qualify for it, I don't get Section 8. They can jam that up their ass. I pay for it right where I'm staying. Cost of living is going up, and you want to put in a new building downtown that's not going to benefit any of us. All it's going to benefit is Nick Scott and the rest of the assholes. They never give a person the opportunity like me, but to run their mouth. Well, one day, you're going to see a big change. And some of you pushing little pencil pushing bastards that sit in council and run the city like you God Almighty. God's coming for each and every one of you. So, get back to me, Mr. Detective, and your police force on the knee incident. Why on the 4 corners before you get down behind them? And I fell down when they had the festival there for St. Pat's, all 4 lights off. Why people can walk in the dark and trip over things and say, oh, my kneecap. Yeah, see you in court.
My name is Michael Putzgalny. I'm from Harbor Creek. A lot of members of the community are here tonight to talk about affordability. I'm here to talk and purvey my own thoughts developed by my growth, understanding, and experience in the Erie community, healthcare system, taking part in protests around the country, advocating for human rights, and analysis of the systems which have brought us to where we are today. 2 words that stood out to me in the presentation last night were foundations and systems. I'd like to lay out the 2 directions I see the city possibly moving and highlighting the contradictions between the 2 as we move into some of the most pivotal years, not only in the city's history, but in human history. On one side, attending a conference for mayors sponsored by the Bloomberg Philanthropy could be celebrated as a great opportunity. But I see it as a warning sign brought on by the normalization of capitalist academia and billionaire control over NGOs, nonprofits, funneling money into initiatives hidden behind equality, but in reality exacerbating inequality. Holding an event and congratulating the Jefferson Society as one of the most important and influential organizations could be celebrated, but I personally see the organization in name and strategy to be leading Erie down the same path of neoliberal systems which have crafted such poverty and inequality and normalization of a barbaric foreign policy that uses our tax money to kill children overseas. Welcoming Josh Shapiro and celebrating him while not challenging him on corruption, genocide denial, persecution of anti-genocide protesters, denying irrefutable evidence of Israeli occupation and apartheid of indigenous Palestinians, normalizes dehumanization and injustice. These three examples lay out a path that could result in Erie becoming a city which maintains a homeless population, allows venture capitalism and large, powerful institutions to dictate who receives funding, and perpetuates exploitation of an underclass. One thing I've learned over the past few years is that the current systems are designed not to provide equity and justice to the lower class, but to maintain the hegemony, my blood sugar's a little low, of a comfortable sect of upper-class individuals. The maintenance of such a system has resulted in where we are today. If you don't seek to change a system which equalizes and provides increased material conditions to those in need, how will you actually change? You cannot funnel people into a system built to exploit them, and there's a reason why young people, I'm 30, I just turned 36, whatever, I'm not that young anymore, but young people really despise both political parties for that reason, because, it's just normalized. Let's look at the other route. Not being afraid to challenge what has been normalized, and immediately treating the designed poverty, thus violence, enacted on our black and brown communities. All hands on deck, reparations and investment. Open recognition of this violence with material promises, the eventual dissolution of the nonprofit industrial complex. It's absolute insanity that a city with this level of poverty has, I think at the last town hall, one official said we had 500 plus nonprofits. That's insane with such a poor community. I think that wealth in those nonprofits need to be redistributed to the black and brown community. Having an adult conversation about the need for redistribution of wealth and the enabling of good jobs for everyone, that paying a living wage and moving to enact it. Another thing, unions. I feel like people are afraid to talk about unions, like everywhere. I mean, I think the city council and the mayor can definitely do a good job of pushing labor organizing. Moving forward, that's one of the only ways that people in poverty can really come into their own and fight for higher wages and stuff like that. And that's one of the most important things to push in the future. Manufacturing, yes, but not mandated participation of our ports in a ballooning military-industrial complex under the guise of national security. We can do manufacturing of boats, but I don't think we should, make it into a port of building ships for the Army or military or Navy or something like that. That leads the community down to a bad road. Standing against the incorporation of unregulated AI and technology and surveillance developed and tested during the genocide of Palestinians into our police forces. So basically, we know Erie is a great place. We just have to focus on building up those that are lowest in our community, and we need to be honest about why they're segregated and why they're poor, and we need to invest immediately into those communities. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nancy Lagon. I want to ask one question. Probably not be more than 5 minutes. Can I ask you a question? You smiled when I came up. The lady, for the mayor, the lady said that, you know what I was going to ask. Did you get my letter? Did you read it? I'm trying to call you and ask you about it. Is there anything about that could be done by what I wrote you about in the letter? Are you able to help me in that way, you think, or no, ma'am?
So we usually don't do the back and forth, but if the
Yes,
mayor's
sir.
comfortable answering.
May she?
All I was going to ask, if it's okay with you, ma'am, Nancy, we will call you tomorrow. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I will give you a call tomorrow. We have your contact information.
Do you know what time, miss, I can be by the phone?
I will do it how about at 9 a.m.?
That's fine.
Is that good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Nancy.
That's all I wanted.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hello, I've never spoken in a public forum before. My name's Larissa Land. I live in Erie, Pennsylvania. I chose to move here from far away because I liked it and I could afford it, and that is changing. But first, I wanted to talk on the bikeway plan because I appreciate the dedication to equity in terms of transportation, but what percentage of the population without access to a car actually uses a bicycle? Has there been any research on that? Other forms of transportation need to be improved. Sidewalks need to be maintained better so that pedestrians are off the streets rather than just walking with cars. It should not be left to citizens who are barely surviving to maintain neighborhood sidewalks for those who actually need those sidewalks, especially the disabled. The bus system needs to be improved to be reliable enough that it can be counted on for those that need it for access to medical appointments and work. Most of us, including me, who are disabled, aren't generally using bicycles. We want to use a bus or walk. And then to affordability. In my household, taking installment loans to pay for groceries has become normal. Strategic payment of utility bills so that nothing is cut off, but you pay when you can, is not supposed to be what it's like for the supposed middle class, but that's what my household supposedly is, middle class. Middle class now means too poor to live, but not poor enough for any help. That means that we are the lucky ones. We have a mortgage instead of rent, so we don't have to fear that our housing payment is going to double out of nowhere or our landlord is going to kick us out. Instead, we have structural problems in our house that we will never be able to afford to repair and mountains of debt. But if we're the lucky ones, when we are paying for groceries with buy now, pay later, taking out credit cards to buy medications, and unable to afford to pay our outrageous utility bills on time, think about what that means for those who are not in the middle class bracket. Our city is full of food deserts, and I can only imagine how those in even worse circumstances than us can even remotely afford to keep their lights on or fill their refrigerator. We need to do something to stop food deserts with affordable grocery options, tax empty buildings and empty lots to make it more costly to hang on to commercial property that could easily alleviate the issues of our city. We need to find a way to cap utility prices that are still rising, cap rising rents, and create a minimum wage that is tied to the cost of living with automatic increases built in based on inflation. Other cities can do it. Why can't we?
Good evening. My name is Nathan George. I live in Fairview Township, and I would like to speak to you today about the crisis of affordability afflicting our city. Specifically, I would like to offer my perspective as a full-time student and part-time worker residing in Erie County. So for the past year, I've worked alongside dozens of city residents at a FedEx warehouse located in Fairview Township called Erie 165. I and other city residents work the third shift. So that means our work typically starts in the early hours of the morning and ends around 9:30 a.m. Since the end of our busiest season, which stretches from Black Friday to Christmas Day, FedEx has shortened our hours in accordance with lower shipping volume and demand. So whereas we formerly worked 8 hours per day and took home over $500 per week, now we work 4 to 6 hours per day and we often take home less than $400 per week. So while some at the warehouse choose the work as a source of disposable income, many of us are driven by necessity. After all, Erie is one of the poorest cities in Pennsylvania. Recent reporting by the nonprofit organization United Way found that in 2024, around 1 in 10 employed Erie City residents lived below the poverty line. According to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology's Living Wage Calculator, unmarried adults with or without children surviving solely off of our warehouse wage fall short of a living wage in Erie County. Existing poverty is exacerbated by a rising cost of living in the city. Market rate costs of rental units, as estimated by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, are estimated at $781 for a studio apartment, $861 for a one-bedroom unit, $1,118 for a two-bedroom unit, and $1,392 for a three-bedroom unit. About 31% of Erie City residents live in rental units. Is it any wonder then that many of my coworkers are compelled to take on second jobs? For many of us, extending the workday into the early hours of the morning is the only way to make rent at the end of the month. Big corporations like FedEx think that they can get away with cutting our hours and paying us less. They market our job positions as part-time and cap our available hours at 35 per week, with the understanding that many of us will clock in to second jobs after the night shift ends. All the while, warehouse workers perform critical labor for small and large local businesses. Without package handlers and drivers, a small fraction, minor fraction of the hundreds of packages that we sort and deliver to Erie addresses would arrive at their intended destinations every morning. So every morning before local establishments open their doors, products they use and sell pass through our hands. As somebody who hopes to live in the city after I graduate, it's really discouraging to have to struggle for a dignified wage and working conditions. Of course, the city government cannot directly influence the business of a facility operating outside of city limits, but there are measures that you can implement to improve our situation. The 2025 Tenant Bill of Rights was a fantastic step in the right direction. This ordinance enshrines the right of renters to organize for better housing conditions. Quote, tenants have the right to organize and should not be subject to intimidation or any form of punishment or retribution against them for collectively organizing as per any applicable federal, state, and or local laws. Right now, workers at Erie 165 fear similar intimidation, punishment, and retribution that discourages our right to organize as protected by federal law. Passing a similar ordinance affirming the right of workers in the city to organize according to existing federal protections is crucial for a couple of reasons. First, it would send a message to the big corporations that come into Erie with the hubris to mistreat employees without fear of consequences. Second, it would instill confidence in working people in the city to do better for themselves and to uplift their coworkers and communities in the process. In doing so, you can help us to help ourselves. So, council members, I appreciate your consideration on this matter, and I hope that we can make Erie an affordable city for the working people who live in the city and who love Erie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Ellis. I live here in Erie. I wanted to talk real quick. This is concerning housing and affordability especially, but in particular, I wanted to talk about ECCM real quick. Expert Community Care Management. Although depending on the website, it could also be Erie County Care Management. But anyway, it's really cool what they've done in terms of creating the coordinated entry process to kind of help folks get hooked up with resources through a streamlined process by either calling a phone number, 814-SHELTER, or by walking into the office. It's helped a lot of people that way, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know that too. But I did want to speak on some anecdotes that just kind of made me a little bit concerned too, that there might be some things that we should look at. I know it's probably limited in what we can actually do at this level, but I just kind of wanted to kind of call attention to it, I guess. So some folks have talked about how whenever they go to ECCM and try to get into the coordinated entry service, there are times when ECCM doesn't know which of their providers that they're working with are actually have beds, or which ones are, or if they're at capacity. Another story in which a person who they were eligible for shelter, but it turned out that the shelter that they were hooked up with was it was quite a ways away from them, and they didn't have reliable transportation. And as you know, a lot of our roads, unfortunately, just aren't safely walkable. And then also I've talked with some folks who had to kind of do some digging to even find out that this is how they apply for resources, for housing resources in Erie. So basically, I just wanted to see, kind of take inventory of ECCM's capacity to meet the housing needs of our community, especially with and a lot of the federal cuts too. I know that's a big part of it. I wanted to see could we look into possibly what is the usual workload for the supports coordinators? What is their usual pay? This might be something that I could actually look up, but I'm sorry, I kind of half-assed this just a little bit. Also, do they get adequate training? Do they feel that they're actually prepared for it? Because some folks that I've talked with felt like the people that, while they were well-intentioned, they felt like maybe they didn't know about some of the resources that were, that were available to them. Also, can we look at the communications process between ECCM and the providers that they work with to see how readily transparent both parties are with like what beds are available and that kind of thing, or what's budgeted for like rental assistance and that kind of thing. And then ultimately, how can we build, kind of bolster that capacity to help folks in the community to get the housing resources that they need, especially proactive housing first resources. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Abdullah Washington, Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm really proud of a lot of the change that we've seen on the surface with our government very recently. I'm way into politics. I've worked with a lot of people who are at some level in position now. I think I can speak for several people here about the positive changes we've seen. With that, I know that Daria and any of these people on council don't have a magic wand to solve Erie's problems, but I do believe that there is some amount of commitment in this room. And I had the pleasure of working for the Heinz Endowment a few years ago before COVID, and I got to speak to one of their directors. And I was telling him about how proud everybody was for Allegheny County because of all the excellent firms they had, like Google and all these other projects they had going. And he said, well, that's great to hear, but what most people don't understand is once you get up to about 40% of your property being nonprofit, as a city, there's very little you can do. So it's great to have these wonderful toys and instruments, but the only way forward is to make sure that we're implementing a lot of these ideas that have been brought up tonight. I want to respectfully mention Andre Horton's consistent, and his brother Gary's, where they're known for talking about community benefit agreements, and I think that is certainly something that we want to inject in every conversation that we have. We need to find, it's critical that we find partners who are not trying to get sweet deals like at $1.5 million to do some changes at the library, and we are told that that's a small investment, only to find out that is the lion's share of the investment on the deal. We need partners that want to help us and understand what they're investing in. We need to bring people to the table who see our young population who wants to stay here, people who see these wonderful waters and the port around us, the fabulous peninsula, the beautiful sunrises and sunsets. They see our multicultural communities from all around the world that bring their own unique flavor and ability to our environment here, who see all these things and they want to raise us. They see our benefits and they want to help expand what's beautiful here. We know these are tough times and every community is being stressed by the economy and whatnot, but we need to find people and bring people to the table and cut deals with people who literally understand there has to be something in it for the people of Erie. If you have a beautiful car, you know it's beautiful, you'll take care of it. Erie is more than a beautiful car. And I appreciate everybody who wants to put something in, who's participating. but we have to see our own beauty, and we have to reward it with partners that want to raise us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Cindy Triber, born and bred in Erie, now live in Edinburgh. I wanted to come and talk about something that there's a group of us who've been talking about this since July. We need a police community partnership, board, whatever verbiage we want to call this. Regardless of how many people have come into these rooms and spoken with people of power for how many years, 8, 10 years. I know Mr. Keyes has been speaking about this forever. It seems that the idea of this police community partnership and any progress towards finding it never moves forward. There's always something. And I've spoken about the 5 different things that civilians are looking for in their community policing and the 5 different things that police are looking for in their policing, and they're the same. So there really should not be a problem. It often feels that the police or the Fraternal Order of Police are putting a significant amount of pushback in agreeing to these partnerships, even to cooperate with guidelines, even to, at the bare minimum, sit down and have conversations. I personally can tell you that I have been filing right-to-know requests like it's my job. I had 4 county police departments who did not even respond to a right-to-know request, let alone the 3 emails, 2 phone calls, and plea to county council. I will give credit to the Erie Police Department that they did actually respond, saying that they needed to check into the legality of the 21 pieces of information that are public information. So I want to thank them and encourage them to provide that information in a timely fashion, because there should be nothing to hide if there's nothing to hide. I say this again, 52-year-old white woman coming from a law enforcement family. If I am not feeling heard, nobody is going to feel heard from a community that is marginalized. It's just not, it's almost laughable. It's almost laughable. There's a theory that states that when a person responds automatically with defensiveness, without even being questioned or asked the question, that they're often speaking in an unconscious manner out of guilt or shame. It's often called a premature defense, and it's a reaction to shame, guilt, or criticism. The continued avoidance of the city, this county, and this state in the places of government and law enforcement circles is deflection at its finest. It is the definition. We come and we ask questions. We come and we ask for information. We come and we ask for a partnership. And it is automatically, well, we're not doing anything wrong. Well, why would you say that? Well, what do you want to do? Well, how would you want us to act? Well, how about we just talk? And if you're defensive, why? Why? We're trying to have a partnership here. I know that there's very little chance of us getting a community police board that has subpoena power. We live in Erie, I understand that. But we've been working on this for 8, 10 years, and I don't want to stop with nothing because we're afraid of something. Like, we have to put something in place. Ohio, Office of Criminal Justice Services, they have accreditations for their police departments. Either sheriff, municipality, local, even college, universities, departments. 21 departments now participating. You have to certify, you have to follow certain standards every several years, you have to apply to stay accredited. It creates standards of administration and organization, professional standards and conducts, training, personnel standards, record and information management, use of force, law enforcement operations, unusual occurrences, property and evidence management. Everybody is falling under the same rule. This helps police officers. So if my husband was an active police officer and we had kids that wanted to go to college in state college, if this was a statewide accreditation process, he would be able to move to a new department and know that he would not have to do additional training because the training would be the same, the standards would be the same. This also protects officers because they know what is expected of them, what the people who they're working next to are going to do, what they have been trained to do, and it protects the community. Why can we not have everybody working under the same premise here? It's so confusing to me why we do this. We have Closed hand or hard hand or soft hand. So some places you can punch someone in the head, some places you can smack someone upside the face, some places you can put your knee on their neck, some places you can put your knee on the back of their... Why? We're dealing with human beings regardless of where their head is, your fist, their back, your shoulder, whatever. Just briefly, I want to reference an analogy made by Councilman Horton. Several years ago, you talked about...
Just make sure this is the wrap, sorry.
I'm sorry?
Just make sure this is the wrap.
This is, yeah. Councilman Horton talked about Erie not being a speck of dust in the Whoville, right? That our inhabitants are not microscopic inhabitants, and it should no longer rest on our shoulders to convince the wilderness that we exist, that our voice is important, that we need the communication, that we need the open dialogue. It needs to happen. This police partnership needs to be county-wide. Please help us.
Thank you.
Good evening. Trevor Henderson, City of Erie. I'm here for the affordability accountability. As stated, many people are facing the same issues, either working a job and can't afford to pay their bills, can't afford to pay their rent, electricity, gas, etc., and let alone food. I am still one of those. We need not only more businesses to be established here and more jobs. Yes, we need more jobs, but also we need more affordability for our rental. It doesn't matter if you're in regular residential, public housing, Section 8. Why cannot this city build more shelters for the homeless? Why is there not shelters for women and children? Another separate housing for men and children? Another shelter for families? Let alone that. And again, why do these landlords get to choose what they get to have us pay? I've looked at several apartments online, and I kid you not, they said 3 to 4 times your income. But nobody here is making 3 to 4 times your income unless you're making over $25 to $40. Now, how is you or me or a person supposed to explain to a landlord, oh no, I make $13 an hour full time, but it's only one income coming to the house? They're going to look at me and say, no, you cannot live here. You don't make enough money. And again, I live in public housing and I still can't afford to live there. It's not fair to the public people. It's not fair to the people in residential areas. And it's not fair to anybody, even if you guys are struggling. It's not fair. There should be a way of communication with these landlords. Somebody needed to bring all of them to the table, have a sit down, have a meeting with them. Why are you charging the people $1,200, $1,100? I've even seen $2,500 for a 2 and 3 bedroom. And I get it. I understand. They have to pay personal property tax. Personal property tax, it is substantial. I get that. But again, that shouldn't be at our risk. It shouldn't, and it's not fair. The wages here is not enough for the individual to afford. Why is a 1 bedroom $1,100, $850, $900, $950? It's not lethal. It's not good enough. I don't understand. And how could they? All they see is money, 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 money. And I understand they got bills to pay. We got bills to pay. But until the wages increase in this city for the people, then maybe somebody could afford $900. Maybe somebody could afford $1,100. But with the wages that's being here for us, for the people, it's not nearly enough. It is not nearly enough. And I understand and I know why people work 2 and 3 jobs just to get by, and shouldn't nobody have to work to die. And that's what we're doing. We're working not just to pay our bills, we are working to die. And where is our money going? Where's our money going? If I have to pay you $900, $1,100, $1,200 to reside in an apartment, I want to know where's my money going. If something breaks down, something needs to be fixed, is it going to be fixed? We have to worry about that now before we even make a move to go anywhere. But nobody's listening. Bring these realtors to the forefront, have it sit down, have a communications table, and ask them why they're making people pay the rent that they're paying. And I don't want to hear about, oh, it's the property tax. No. And I understand property tax. It is a lot, but it's only yearly. I'm paying you monthly, but you're paying yearly. It should be some leeway for us people to be able to afford where we live and not have to choose between rent and food. And that's all I'm asking is you can bring these people to the forefront and ask them and tell them, you can't charge these people that. You guys need to make that established to them. They cannot do this anymore. Anything over 900 is unethical. It really is. And it need to be put to a stop. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Charnel Shepard. I lived on the Lower East Side. A couple of weeks ago, I was here and I told you my story about the mice, and I decided to move. I talked to my uncle, my oldest uncle, my mom's brother, and I said, listen, you don't visit me anymore, I never see you. He said, because you have a mouse problem. And the house stinks because your bathroom, your toilet doesn't work, and I just don't come see you anymore. So how heartbreaking is that? I cannot even see my family because my property is in such bad condition, they don't want to visit me. So I told my landlord I was moving out, and she said, I don't understand why. I'm going to sue you for the money you owe me because you moving out. And I mean, I had code enforcement out there and everything. I got a back porch that's caving in, and none of my sinks work. They don't drain. I can't do dishes. I can't take a shower. I can't use the bathroom. And I have a mouse problem. So she has no idea why I'm moving out. Why would I not be happy with that? So listen, council, we have to bring these landlords to justice. It is not fair to make somebody pay you rent and stay in a house like that. And I said, you haven't fixed anything. And you know what she said to me? This is my house. I don't have to fix nothing if I don't want to. So I said, well, I'm not living here. I mean, and my question to you is today, I think that when I do move out, she's going to take that sign off the window and put a for rent sign right back in that window and start renting out again and not fix anything. So, I mean, there's got to be some way to stop these landlords from not fixing their property and forcing people to live there. She's talking about suing me, and I got a mouse problem. I had to move in the spur of the moment because my house was in such bad condition. So, I mean, I don't know. Is there any solution to that? I mean, she expect me to pay her rent this month. I said, listen, I'm going to be out by the 15th. I don't owe you rent. I got a red sticker on the house. She said, well, I'm going to sue you. You owe me for last month and this month, and then you broke the lease. So you owe me another $1,600 plus that. So I'm like, what? I couldn't even stay there for the last 2 months, and I have asthma. I was in the hospital. I had 3 admissions and was in intensive care and did not know why. It's because people with asthma cannot be around mice droppings, and I didn't know that. I didn't even know. Like Jim said, you don't even know you have a mouse problem. You just wake up one day, and it's mice everywhere. They don't come out until fall. And, you know, I knew I was catching 10, 15 mice on one trap. And when I notified her, she would swear at me and tell me, no, I'm not getting a blanket exterminator. Well, why not? So, I mean, there's got to be some way to stop these landlords from renting people places in shape like this. It has to. So thank you, and please fix it.
Thank you.
Hello,
Hello, my name is Tracy Ollie. I live in Erie, and almost in the same kind of condition that she was stating. I have roaches, and I had holes in my walls, and rust and mold and stuff. And I just don't think that tenants need to be living in a house where there's mold, bug infestations, even lead paint, that type of stuff going on, because that messes with people's health. And how can a person stay in a building that is not properly managed and everything? But they want you to pay rent and everything for these apartments, but they're not living in living conditions. And I don't think nobody should have to go through that. And I went through it with my landlord, talking really rude to me and cursing and telling me he ain't gonna do this. And I'm like, well, how is that? And I'm renting from you. I don't think even for other people that they should have to go through that with a rude landlord that don't want to fix nothing. But it's your property, so why wouldn't you want to fix it? It's your job to make sure your apartment or whatever your property is up to code. And some of these apartments are not up to code. People have been getting sick, sent to the hospital, and their health is failing because they're living in poor conditions. And I think they need to be held accountable, maybe lose their landlord license, something. They need to lose their license. It doesn't matter what state they go to. Pictures, faces need to be posted so people know not to rent from these people. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Michael Keys, Erie, Pennsylvania. I hope everyone here is appalled, as I am, of what we've heard today. It is absolutely terrible that people live under these conditions. There's a proverb that says, whoever oppresses the poor shows contempt for their maker, but whoever is kind to the needy honors God. And so I say that to say that the people who are landlords should understand, according to my belief, that you're going to have to give accountability for what you do one way or another someday in this life or in the next. And they should be cognizant and aware of that fact. Solutions. It's harder to find solutions, but I can tell you that we are blighting houses every week. We are condemning houses every week. We are tearing down houses every month. And we all know that these houses go through a process. But it seems like we have people living in places that are worse than the places that we are tearing down. How terrible is that? We need to find a way to fix some of our housing in this town. It said that we don't have the right type of housing for the people we want to live here. But we shouldn't be as worried about building houses for people who might come and restore the housing that we have for the people who already live here. When I was on council, we gave the redevelopment $14.4 million, I believe, who were supposed to handle part of this task. But now all they have is money for lead abatement. But I am asking the mayor that the Erie the City of Erie redevelopment gave the county redevelopment $5 million. And I want to know what's the status of that $5 million. It violated our contract with that organization, and I'm asking you to ask for that money to be returned to the city coffers so that we have something to work with. They say you can't build houses brick without straw, so we need that back in our coffers, and we need, and I believe you'll have your people working full time to help get other streams of revenue into this town so that we can build the type of housing, not just for the people who may come, but that we can prop up the housing for the people who are already here, that nobody has to live in a detestable, deplorable situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Teresa Himmler, City of Erie. I'll try to make this brief. I am going to kind of jump around a little bit, though. Just back onto the bikes and the walking and all of that. One of the biggest things that we need to do in the city is to actually readdress how drivers approach pedestrians and bikers. So yes, those accidents, all of those things, all those statistics were brought up. But if we're going to have a better pedestrian life and the bicycles, we really need to make sure that drivers readdress how to actually stop at a stop sign, stop at the walkways. Because even when I was coming in today, I was at the pedestrian walkway, I had the pedestrian light to walk, and somebody was blocking the crosswalk. It happens, I get that, but my point is, we need to make sure that the drivers understand that it's a pedestrian right-of-way, and that's how we're going to protect the pedestrians and the bikers before we even get out there. So just want to make that point. Also wanted to make a quick point on the public developer model. Emerson brought it up earlier. You know, there's a lot more control that we have about the types of development, how that could actually work as a co-op, and also the money that would stay in the city. Which takes me to my next point. I really would like to see the City of Erie readdress our tax-paying dollars in those positions for city employees and how we are actually allowing our tax dollars to go buy houses in Mill Creek and all of that, because our teachers, our firefighters, our police officers are not required to live in the district anymore. I know they used to. I know my uncle was a city police officer. He was then also a chief of police, and he was not allowed to live outside of the city limits. He had no problem with that because you then become part of your community. You know the person down the street. When teachers are seeing their students right down the block from them, they understand what the community goes through, and it's just going to build a better community for us. Plus that money that we're paying for the wages, for the health care, for all of that stays in our community then. They're buying a house and paying taxes right with me. So I just want to make that point. And last thing, so I met Ms. Charnel and we connected. I actually did help her last week to get some of her things out of her house. She had amazing help from some other people to get the bigger items out of the house. And I went over, and as soon as I walked in the door, it hits you. You can smell the mice. You can smell the rot. Nobody should ever live like that. When I was helping her, I wrote down a few of the things that needed repairs that I don't know how anybody who actually is paying rent could ever live there, be allowed to pay rent. Like how could the landlord still have any kind of license when there are broken gutters, they are falling down. It was actually raining that day and the water was like pouring off of us onto the stairs. which brought up the next issue, which was there were missing railings and the other railing is broken. And if you see Ms. Charnel, you know that she's got a little bit of an issue with her walking, and that was not helping to be walking down wet stairs outside, water on you, and broken railings. There's also broken and missing windows, not only just the one in the back room of the house, but also in the basement where the actual exhaust would go for a dryer, completely open to the outside. Their garage there's a big open space on the side of it. The window is broken out in the garage. She never even used the garage, but between the vermin that could have been inside of that, or potentially even, a number of people have said it, homeless could have been living there the entire winter. It would have been a great shelter, but it's not safe. The plumbing issues, yeah, she is right. She did not have a single sink. I went to wash my hands at one point and had to use a bucket in the sink in the bathroom and dump it into the toilet just so I could wash my hands. Holes in the tub. She didn't even have a spigot for the tub itself. Sorry, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Hi, Julie Hurt. I live in Mill Creek. Fortunately, I bought a house 25 years ago, so rent is not an issue. Just sitting here, I did some quick math. They were saying that you have to have 3 times your rent to get an apartment. So an $1,100 apartment, you would need to make $3,300 a month, which equals 1 full-time and 1 half-time job at $15 an hour, which is a questionable wage in Erie. So I'd like to just address some points on affordability and quality of life in Erie. First off, Ms. Charnel is not the only one that has a mouse problem. It would appear that the entire lower east and west side has an issue. I went to saw a speaker last night who talked about loss of federal and state funding. And one of the issues that struck me is that the food bank has lost 25% of their funding in state and federal. And because of state and federal funding, they're expecting, I think, a 66% increase in what they will have to put out, which is amazing that they're even trying to do that. The other issue that brings up is the Erie Housing Authority banning food gardens at a time when the food bank is having difficulty feeding people and people are having difficulty buying food. This is a rodent problem for the city. I feel like the city needs to do something for these people living in these areas because it's untenable. We need to build infrastructure for people who live here and stop trying to attract the people that we would like to have. People live here, they pay taxes, they work in this city, they deserve decent housing. Brings an attention, some of these landlords is appalling. Why is the city not routing out these bad landlords, telling them that they can't rent these places? Ms. Charnel's place, I can see this woman trying to rent it out again, and that's sin. That is absolute sin. So we need to come up with a rent formula that's fair and maybe rent control. We need a tenant's right board. And I would like to just bring this back to Ms. Charnel, who I asked permission to speak on. When I met Ms. Charnel, she had been released from the hospital for the 3rd time because she was so sick living in her apartment. And she was in tears, and she looked unhealthy. I've seen her several times during this battle to try and find a place, and fortunately she found a place. My understanding is it's substantially more expensive, but it's very nice. I saw her today, and you can see the difference that this has made in her. She looks healthy, she looks happy. This is how people should live in Erie. The fact that they're not is a sin. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Marty Wachuku, resident of Erie. I am here to speak on the affordability crisis as well as housing. Sometimes I feel like you're obligated to say that there are good landlords in spite of there being so many negative stories across the city, but I actually want to celebrate. I'm going to call him Landlord Mike out in the lobby. I hadn't met him before. And he was up here earlier to talk about a situation or a crisis he has with some person in the community targeting him. He showed me his leases. He's charging for 2 bedrooms, $400-something, $500-something, $600-something. And he came up to me before we went into the chambers here and he said, I'm afraid that people might feel a certain way about me. And I went to say that, and I said to him, no, you are to be celebrated. Long-term tenants, people who have lived with him for 10 to 12 years, he's asking them $400, $600, $500. To Ms. Treva's point, not being able to afford living in public housing, where is all this money going? Why are they charging so much? I think as a community and as a city, we need to set a standard of what is affordable and what's not. What does a starter apartment look like? How much does that cost? What does a median income apartment look like? How much does that cost? How many starter, mid-income, and luxury apartments should we be zoning for in this community? Erie is a very poor community. We need to prioritize affordable housing over luxury market rate housing. And the housing crisis, a lot of people spoke to it, it speaks to the affordability crisis. Utilities are expensive. Gas is expensive. And on the national stage, we're about to hit an economic crisis that many of, and myself included, have never witnessed before. What is the city going to do to support the people who are here to survive that? So we've organized ourselves as a community, and we'll continue coming back to talk about what we're going through and wanting to work with you and celebrate Mayor Daria having the study session last week about overhauling the inspection and licensing program. I think that's going to be a really big thing. But last night I heard you say it's going to be the summer of literacy. Let this be the year of housing. Let's attack this aggressively. Let's stabilize people's housing so that no matter what comes from the federal or international politics, we're going to have our people set here. And let's use Landlord Mike as the example. Rent should start at two bedrooms for 400 something. That's reasonable. In our market where people are working 2 to 3 jobs for $14 an hour, they don't have insurance, people are struggling and drowning. So there's going to be a group of us who go to Harrisburg to continue to advocate for the cost of living crisis to be addressed. I want to know that you all as council and the mayor, I know, Mayor Dar, you're doing a really great effort of trying to work with the different entities and the departments across the city to communicate better. What does that look like with the state delegation? I know the city is broke. The people in the city are broke. Of course the government is broke. What kind of money are we getting from the state? Are we being aggressive about getting that money for the state? They should be paving our roads. They should be paying for a vermin extermination program. They should be paying for the homeowners to address their housing. And then lastly, when it comes to community benefit agreements and making sure that development here in the city centers the people who exist here, not to be anti-progress, but let's plan for the people who are here. When it comes to housing, sometimes people are just in a bit of crisis and they need transitional housing. What would it look like for Scott Enterprises or Erie Events to have a certain amount of time where they can house people in their vacant rooms? I'm certain during the summer months, they're going to be super busy. But during the winter, what would it look like for us to have a partnership between the city or the county to house people who need emergency crisis housing, like Ms. Charnel? She was in a situation where she was living in a terrible situation and she had to manage it until she found clean housing. There's a lot of people like that in the city. If they have power, if they have resources, we should be asking them to give back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carlos Mora. I live in the county, but I spend 90% of my time in the city. Actually, on the same team as Maria, I would like to celebrate what needs to be celebrated. I would like to celebrate here City Council, Mayor Daria. At some points, I'd be like, this is going on, and you guys have been here, taking notes, hearing everything, and this is how we build civil society. By us taking in account to each other, by listening to us, and by coming together as a community. We just heard from probably the most vulnerable population in our city that Mari and myself and many individuals have been weeks, if not months, trying to convince them, trying to organize them to be brave enough to come here to this point. We heard from them. We heard about from individuals who have been organized for a long time, such as Emerson, such as Henry, such as Eric, such an amazing group of people. And all I want to say is that, yes, we don't have the answers for all these. And many of the things that we're asking you, by all means, is not within your jurisdiction because of state, local levels, budgets. I understand that. But I want to celebrate that you guys are taking that willingness to listen to us. Because for them, for many of these individuals, this is the first opportunity that they ever have to address the government, to feel heard, to feel seen. And this is just the beginning. As a community organizer, and with Mari and with many other amazing folks in the community, this is what we do. We're trying to empower the next generation of leaders. And we're gonna take this fight to Harrisburg. And I understand that I would like to create this partnership because there are so many things that we don't know that you guys are struggling. There are so many levels of bureaucracy. I see it from the outside. But I just want to celebrate that you guys are taking the willingness to hear from us, and we are not going to stop because this is what creates civil society, and this is what's wrong with the country right now. I was able to count at some point we have 60 people in this room having debates, having conversations. I think that's something to be celebrated because we're living in such broken times, we are not talking to each other. So I think what we were able to accomplish here today over the past 4 or 5 hours, that's just a beginning of a bigger scale that we want to bring. So I really hope that you guys continue to do this. We are going to continue to do this work. And let's work together. Let's collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again, Sydney Zimmerman from the city of Erie. So lots has been said. I'm going to continue the celebrations and gratitude. I am grateful not only for the 60 or so people who showed up tonight and participated in the way that they felt comfortable, but I want to thank council. You guys pushed back. You asked questions. You held the Erie Events Authority to account, and you represented the people who were here asking for your help by giving their comment. So thank you so very much for standing up for us. We haven't always had representatives who stand up for us. My big concern, again, is the Bayfront. You know, we gave away the farm, in my opinion, a long time ago. Andre, you're nodding, you know. We opened up LERTA to the Bayfront. We gave tax breaks to people who don't need them. The Scots are the last people in this city who need them. And yet, in 2024, the state gave the Scots, or offered the Scots $750,000. The Scots said, we wanted $7 million. That's too little. They even contemplated, I'm not sure if they followed through with this, but they contemplated giving it back to the state because it was so little to them. In 2026, this past year, they got that $7.6 million from the state. On top of, they have at least 3 loans out from the city of Erie, low interest loans. They do not need low interest loans. Give them a high interest rate. If we can't tax them on the property that's on the Bayfront, then we're giving them more and more. And in one of the articles, Scott stated that, you know, even though they only get to enjoy 6 months of the Bayfront, at least they got to do that at Oliver's and the beer garden. The beer garden. My brother used to work at the beer garden, okay? So I'd visit him every now and then. And it was not long visits because it is a mess down there. You know, they talked about wanting to make a family-friendly environment. That is not a family-friendly environment, especially after the sun goes down. I like the mini golf, but it's not for the kids. So we need to start holding these. I mean, I came here, I talked about, you know, having our quality of life ticketing. Why aren't we doing that, especially during the snowy months when we can, you know, charge people who can afford it the fee for not doing what they're supposed to be doing? Now we have another opportunity to make sure that we get something back. CBAs have been on the table for a long time. 10 years, Marty? So why aren't we following through with this? Especially when, you know, the Convention Authority, they are working with CRIZ, right? And CRIZ is even more money towards them. And they're talking about renovating the Bayfront, doing cultural entertainment district from 7th and French to 10th and French, and does anybody know whose business is over in that area? Erie Insurance, okay? And so they want green space. They want a multi-use theater with 650 seats. It's an intimate use for the Playhouse. Wait, we already have the Playhouse. What is this for? Especially when you have stuff like the Warner, that they have wonderful programs. I love the Erie Phil. My mom gave me 4 tickets for Christmas because it's expensive. People can't readily access it, but they do great programs. They have lessons so that children especially can come in and learn an instrument, but who is it accessible to? You know, and I know there are people with big hearts who work over there. I'm friends with some of them, but big hearts, it doesn't matter if people don't have the money to come and enjoy the event. And so if they're going to be getting money from the state, if they're going to get money from the city, and they say that they're putting on events and they're trying to make it better for our area, then why isn't it accessible to people who need this type of access, who live here, work here every day? And you know what? It does bother me that I don't believe all 11 members of the board were even here tonight to hear out the community. I believe, is her name Ms. White, the chairwoman? She was here. I didn't even see Longkey, though, and he's like a civilian kind of member to the board, non-voting. You know, those people, they need to be involved in these processes. And I don't understand why we're not. I mean, I came here tonight because Emerson was like, hey, you want to come? I'm presenting something. I was like, hey, yeah, I forgot it was today. I have time. Perfect. Had no idea about this presentation. I used to do canvassing for a living. I love knocking doors. I love getting out there, talking to people, seeing what's interesting to them, seeing what problems they're facing. I can't for the life of me understand why we don't have some type of volunteer something with the city government to get out there and talk to people about things like this. We need to be more creative, y'all. But thank you so much for all that you're doing.
Thank you.
Freda Tepfer, City of Erie. I guess I'm not going to get home in time to have my first Maria's ice cream cone of the season. She closes at 9. So I do want to tell people, because there were so many people here today who talked about being having disabilities. The Mayor's Roundtable used to meet monthly, and they used to meet in person at the Intermodal, but now they meet quarterly online, and tomorrow is the meeting. It's at 2 p.m. So if you want to get the Zoom link to go, you should call Mas Sala at 814-870-1111, which is the same as the response line, and tell them you want to go to the Disability Roundtable and would like the Zoom link. There needs to be more customers, disability customers participating in the roundtable and not just agency types. So I encourage some of you to show up and talk about the issues, the homelessness problems, accessibility problems. I want to say that the Erie County Redevelopment Authority is chronically mismanaging the sidewalk access for the EMI project. Cherry Street between 12th and the overpass, they have no respect for pedestrians. They put up the barriers, sometimes the ones without the lower bar, and they have those sandbag things to stabilize the fences, and they take up what little sidewalk there is there. Today, they left the Genie machine in place, blocking the sidewalk overnight. I'll bet they'll do it over the weekend, too. And I don't know how long the sidewalk on West 12th Street has been closed, but we do have a 120-day limit in the city. Neither Gannon nor Erie Insurance nor this project is ever held accountable to it, but they are mismanaging that project. Businesses, I will say it again, they are parking free in Braybender Park. The businesses across the street get the park free because they made some kind of deal with the last Director of Public Works. And now the contractor for National Fuel is also using Braybender Park parking lot for their projects. They got big piles of dirt there and a bunch of machines, and it's almost softball season, so what's going on with our park? Maybe the businesses can pay to pave the sidewalk alongside the park there if they're going to get free parking. I would love to see a curb ramp at the northwest corner of Burst and 23rd. All the other corners were done like 5 years ago. And there's a lot of us in the neighborhood that could sure use that curb ramp, including the adult home and people who use mobility devices. I attended the zoning hearing board meeting, and one problem I have is I feel like the solicitor was maybe going overboard, being helpful to the project proponent, and maybe making suggestions. It seemed to me like that didn't need to be made. So I want to be sure that we're not going overboard to advocate for the developers. They got their fancy lawyers. They don't need that. It's city event time, and I would sure like to see us have sustainable packaging, that anybody who is a vendor at our Celebrate Erie and our Rib Fest and all the others are having sustainable packaging, not clamshells, not styrofoam. Those packaging are available. If you buy anything at Urban Honey Bakery or any number of places, they're using that kind of packaging. Also, the city should work with the Water Authority and get a quench buggy or something like that to have, so that there could be refillable water bottle filling stations, not just the one water fountain, which, by the way, it's time to turn it back on. It's still covered up. It should be turned back on. Since I will not be at the April 30th meeting, because I bought a ticket a long time ago, there's too much lighting on the Marriott. The lighting should not be all the way around the building. Reduce the glass or incorporate a bird-safe glass. There should not be a continuous overhang because it sends a bad message to pedestrians, and it should not be an overheight building. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else for public comment? Okay, this will go on to the next section.
Ordinances for final passage. Council File 16600, official ordinance number 21-2026, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $120,000 from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue for the expenditure thereof for the purchase of 3 code enforcement vehicles and related equipment through the PA Department of Community and Economic Development Grant number C000-96521. The council file ordinance bill number 16600 and now known as official file ordinance number 2126 be finally passed by the city council. Councilmember Flores?
Yes.
Horton?
Yes.
Pohl?
Yes.
Titus?
Yes.
City council pass official file ordinance number 21-2026, finally by yeas 5, nays 0.
4-0.
4.
I'm sorry, 4-0. Thank you. Council File 16601, Official File Ordinance 22-2026, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $5 million from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue for the expenditure thereof. Funds were received from the Erie Sewer Authority Bond Redemption and Improvement Fund account for wastewater treatment plant disinfection systems improvement project. Sponsored by Councilmember Horton, seconded by Councilmember Titus. That Council File Ordinance Bill Number 16601, and now known as Official File Ordinance 22-2026, be finally passed by City Council. Councilmember Flores,
Yes.
Horton,
Yes.
Pohl,
Yes.
and Titus.
Yes.
City Council passed Official File Ordinance 22-2026 finally by yeas 4, nays 0. Council File 16602, Official File Ordinance Number 23-2026, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $350,000 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue to provide for the expenditure thereof for the construction phase of Erie Loop Bikeway French Street project. Sponsored by Councilmember Horton, seconded by Councilmember Flores. The Council File Bill Number 16602, and now known as Official File Ordinance 23-2026, be finally passed by City Council. Councilmember Flores,
Yes.
Horton,
Yes.
Pohl,
Yes.
and Titus.
Yes.
City Council passed Official File Ordinance 23-2026 by yeas 4, nays 0. Ordinances for first reading. Council File 16603, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $16,136.55 from appropriated and anticipated revenue from the Office of the State Fire Commissioner's Grant for Firefighters Protective Equipment. Sponsored by Councilmember Pohl, seconded by Councilmember Titus. The Council File Ordinance 16603, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Councilmember Flores,
Yes.
Horton,
Yes.
Pohl,
Yes.
and Titus.
Yes.
Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance Number 16603 on first reading by yeas 4, nays 0. Council File 16604, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $2,150 from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue for the expenditure thereof for contribution from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania FY 2025 Certified Local Government Grant, acting through the Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission. Sponsored by Councilmember Flores, seconded by Councilmember Pohl. That Council File Ordinance Number 16604, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Councilmember Flores,
Yes.
Horton,
Yes.
Pohl,
Yes.
and Titus.
Yes.
City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance Number 16604 by yeas 4, nays 0. Council President, this takes us to new business.
I would call for a motion from council to move the balance.
Motion.
Second. Oh,
Any separations?
No.
Okay, voting on moving the balance. Who was the first? I'm sorry.
Poll. Then it was a tie between Horton and...
doesn't matter who's the second at this point.
Okay. Councilmember Flores?
Yes, sorry. Look, see, I'm brain dead, like.
Horton,
Yeah.
Pohl?
Yes.
And Titus?
Yes.
That takes us to committee reports.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start with Councilor Pohl.
Just short, kind of this home opener for the Seawolves was very exciting to see everybody out and have the mayor and throw the first pitch. Very exciting. She did a wonderful job.
Do some smoke.
The study session for the code enforcement, as we've heard from a lot of people tonight, we need changes. And I think we're off to a great start with the mayor, with her changes that are being enacted. And hopefully we can all get that together soon because, and not all people that own houses that rent them out are bad. So I don't want to, throw them under the bus. But we have to get after the ones that do. And the ones that, are just, I hate to say, in it for the money. And there's a lot of people, it's been over probably the last 30 years that people from not only out of the city limits, but out of state limits that see Erie as cheap property and have bought all the property up within the city, and they're not taken care of the way they are supposed to. So we need to get after that. The people that rent, that can't afford homes, need to be able to live in dignity, which a lot of them aren't right now. And they need to, years ago, as I go back, if you rented a property, you cut the grass, you did the sidewalks in the winter, and that's gone by the wayside because, and not that they're lazy, if the owner of the property doesn't care about the property, the rental people, the people that rent them aren't going to care. They need to care about themselves and where they live. And I think with hopefully having more grasp on our not zoning department, but our code enforcement office, where we get our control back to that with the city, we can get that back and have people enjoy where they live. And, like owning a house, you take care of your property and you value where you live. And the people that rent need that. And we've heard from a lot of people tonight that they don't because they can't get it. And the rental, since COVID, rent has gone up. Properties have gone up, and I don't see them coming down anytime soon. So it's been a long night, so we just need to take pride back in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Flores.
I'm going to divert a little bit from my committee report just because I wanted to bring up the fact that we had a packed house tonight. As someone who's been on council for 4 years, 4 months, because I won my re-election. I ran for city council back in 2018 as a 25-year-old who was working in our city and who felt as though there was no point in staying here. I was overworked, underpaid. I wasn't making enough to survive as a single woman, and it was exhausting. And I ran because nobody at the table was listening. So I didn't win that time. I was 187 votes short from locking in that seat that first run. But in 2021, I ran again, and I did lock in my seat. And I was reelected. And I have a feeling that I was reelected because the community supports me in the efforts of making sure that we have livable wages, we have safe, affordable, sound housing. that we hold our landlords accountable. As Mayor Daria Devlin has mentioned, I am all for enforcement. After 4 years of being on council and seeing the things that some people get away with, I'm tired. But it's not as exhausting being up here on this podium when I have support. So I'm happy to see that some of my newer council members are also in support of making sure that our residents in the city are taken care of and that we are listening. And you know, you might not have the power with one voice or one vote, but if you got four voices and four votes all speaking together in the same language, hopefully we can get things that actually benefit our community. I started canvassing as a community organizer with Erie County United back in 2018, just getting out door to door like a fellow speaker had mentioned. And the issues that you hear the community going through, it's about affordability. It's about being able to survive. It's about being able to pay your bills and buy groceries and maybe even take care of your medications without being completely broke. So when I hear all this development going on and we're trying to attract more people to these areas, but we're forgetting behind the people who are in the poorest zip code who can't afford these amenities, I have to question, why does local city residents not have a 25% off some of these city tax-paying, nonprofit or non-tax paying entities, so that the city residents can feel like, okay, my investment is going towards something. At least I can go do this. Once upon a time, we used to be able to go to the zoo on Sundays for free all day. And now I think we get 2 hours. So it's like the things that are for the public get taken more and more, and it's our public tax dollars that pay for a lot of these ventures, that if we build it, they will come. So I'm happy that I have more support. I'm happy that a lot more people are listening. And I can't wait to see what we're all going to do for our city residents.
Thank you. Councilor Horton.
Sure, thank you, Dr. Titus. I'll try to be brief as well. This week I visited, I attended the Blighted Review, where we blighted like 4 houses, which I think that's the only liaison that actually has a vote. And so I got to vote on that. Those agencies work hand in hand. They're all kind of autonomous in that they're under the Redevelopment Authority's executive director, Mr. Snipper. So we got to talk a little bit about the land bank and the Redevelopment Authority itself. I learned some valuable information. Aaron was really, really helpful. He helped me settle or move a constituent situation to resolve. So it was great. I had a study session we all attended. It was great. Kudos out to Mayor Devlin and Attorney Chet, as well as our fearless president, Dr. Titus, for all the hard work that you do. I'm hearing really, really good things out in the community. I apologize for not being able to get your 100 days, but I feel like I've been here right on them 100 days. I kind of got it. I'm very, very proud of the work that we're doing collectively. I met with the police chief as I'm the new liaison to the Bureau. He was kind enough to assemble his command staff. We had some really, really good engagement. I look forward to seeing where I can help as far as community police relationships. I was able to express my profound gratitude for the work that the department does. There are really some really great officers, but we're not living in a vacuum. There's also a few that's probably not so great. But the command staff, I can honestly say they want to do better. They're working to do better. They're looking to do better, and we're looking to support them. I haven't had the chance to double back to the Erie Housing Authority. I'm still formulating questions and fielding complaints or concerns, I guess, as it relates to the growing of food in those places. But overall, it's been a good week. It's probably the most involved week that I've personally been in since the accident. I'm raring to go. So, Mike Lavery, thank you so much to you and Chelsea, and of course Lori in her absence. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a very busy week, pretty tired, and it's very warm in these chambers, so it's making the tiredness a little bit more apparent here. One of my primary commitments when I took this role, and honored to have it with my colleagues, was around transparency and process, and that continues to be something that we're working on. I think just the meetings that we're doing with community members, making sure we're out in the front, we're answering these questions, is also a bit of a testament to how many times the chambers have been filled up, especially at our night meetings. I know that they are long, but the fact that we have so much public input, I think it just speaks wonders to the voice that community members now are realizing that they have, and they're feeling empowered to use. And I love watching it, and I love witnessing, and I love hearing. It also breaks my heart to know that this is the city that we're living in, and what a juxtaposition of the topics that we cover in these meetings, to watch some of those who are the most fortunate be in the presence of some of those who are struggling the most, and to sometimes feel that they're not receiving or being impacted the way that we really hope that they would take in. Those who are sharing their trauma and their vulnerability here with us can be very frustrating to witness, to say mildly. I don't want to keep going on a pulpit, but I do think it's important that we honor those who show up and who stand up here at a mic on camera and bear their story for all of us to see. They don't owe us their vulnerability. They don't owe us what they have to survive every day, and I want to make sure that we honor that. Very grateful for those who show up. Please keep showing up, and I look forward to working in partnership. All of us, most of us are this is hard. It's not a secret that we don't get paid a lot on council. Some of us are working full-time jobs in addition to family, or there's many things that are happening outside of here. And so when we can have these partnerships with our community, it helps us be more effective in the positions that we're happening and that we're able to do. So thank you. And with that,
before you do,
yes.
I think it's important to give honor to whom honor is due. And it has been a long night. And I know the chief puts in really, really long hours during the day. And so, Chief, I just want to thank you and acknowledge, you stayed here for this marathon meeting, and that really means something, too.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Councilor Horton. Don't forget, we've got a primary election coming up, and so we need to make sure that you are registered. We are a closed primary state. You've got to pick a side, Democrat or Republican, so that you can vote in this primary election that's coming up in May. Make sure you're out, just getting to know who's going to be on that ballot, and getting those voter registrations in and those mail ballots back. Last day to register? Last day to register, May 5th. With that, now I will stop talking and pass the mic.
Well, May 4th.
I want to say that I'm thankful that we've had a couple of long public hearings, and I think for legal purposes and procedural purposes, I think we have a complete record. So you got to hear directly from the public and from the developers. You guys have some decisions to make, but from a legal perspective, I think we have a complete record. I really appreciate that we were able to get that all done and completed. So that's all.
I will be brief because I know I'm last. I also want to thank those that came tonight and spoke. I think we have a mandate, council, us together, to do something, and we hear you, and I think we can, and I think we all feel the urgency. So I want to thank those. You help us make the decisions we have to make, and so thank you all for that. I also want to shout out Chief Trott over here. The solicitor and I were saying he's like a warrior here till the end, so we appreciate you, Chief Trott. Thank you. We marked 100 days in office today. To your point, Councilor Horton, we've lived it together. We've all lived this together. 100 days leads to the next and the next and the next, and we've laid some foundations, and now we have lots of more work to do. So you have my commitment, Council, to continue to do that for you and for the residents. Two quick things I want to address on the topic of the Strengthening Police and Community Partnership, the SPCP Council. We actually have a call out for nominations right now, so that is actually moving forward. We've asked members of the community from various sectors to submit their nominations. That council will be 20 people, 10 law enforcement, 10 community members. We expect the first meeting to happen in May. So I just want to be very clear and transparent about the beginning of that. And I want to thank Councilor Flores for joining me for our little chat yesterday to make sure that folks were aware of tonight's hearing. Just want to remind everyone to the point of how we are communicating. We're communicating via social media. We're communicating via the website. We are trying to make people aware of things like tonight's public hearing. So if you have suggestions for how we can do that better, please let us know. But thanks, Councilor Flores, for joining me, and I'll look forward to joining the rest of you. With that, it's been a very long night, so thank you all.
Thank you all. And just as a reminder, we do have another public hearing on the 30th. So
Special meeting.
Special meeting. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and call for adjournment.
City Council adjourns April 15th, 2026 at 10:27 p.m.